Did you do it on OBS and did you do it on
No.
YouTube? Because you do it on OBS and then you do it on YouTube.
All right, OBS is done. Um,
Then YouTube, your management thing. Now you've got the delay. You're good. You're good now.
it's there. We're live.
We are live. You can hear audio right now, even though we've got a delay counter. Fantastic.
Hi, everybody. Give us a second.
Like a
And we're live. In theory, maybe we're not live. There we go. Oh,
says live.
Yep, now we're live. All right. Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can see and hear both of us. If you can't, that's what the comment section is for.
Hey, look, I'm frozen immediately.
Yeah, I forgot the problem.
Stop recording.
Yeah, so we're going to press that button. And now we're in theory working. I want to be able to see the comment page, but there's actually not a way for me to see the comments. If I do that,
Sure,
I
there
think
is.
it
Put it
works.
up on multiple screens.
I know. That's why I did. I just,
I'm on it right now. I'm looking straight ahead, ready to rock and roll.
We both know that I
I'm
have
wearing-
a wrapped monitor. Yeah. So,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, it's
I've got a pink unicorn shirt on. We almost cropped out my mountain of prescription drugs that I have behind me.
we cropped out enough of it. That's kind of how I view it. That was kind of my goal. I was like, yeah, Brad's doing great, everybody.
How about this, chat? How do we sound at least?
Probably fine-ish.
Fine-ish.
Fine-ish. We're good.
I'd like to get it. Can we get sponsored by Smartwater?
We've got it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance, and Smart Water is just expensive water.
Yeah, hence the reason I'd like to get sponsored by them. I just want free shit, basically.
What? Because you want free, expensive water. Well, actually, you're in Toledo. I'll drink out of the tap. You probably shouldn't.
Have you seen the Toxic Avenger? I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah, that's a bad situation. So, anyway, hey everybody. Obviously, here we are. Our second ever live Q&A. This is hopefully going to go better than the first one, which went great, to be fair, but it could go better.
To be fair.
Yeah, it could.
What are we
go
watching
better.
in the background, by the way? Do you have Super Troopers on?
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm not telling you. You have to figure it out on your own.
I already got it.
Yeah, littering and. Anyway, all right. So, if I'm a bit quiet, it should be better now. I can increase my gain. All right, thanks. There we go. All right. Anyway, so thank you all for joining. Before we begin, a couple little housekeeping items. Obviously, we're on YouTube now. So if this is your first time discovering we're on YouTube, we are on YouTube. We released our first ever episode of the new History of 40K that came out on Friday at randomly 3:15 p.m. That's when I finished editing it. The next one will be out this coming Wednesday, and then it'll be releasing every 2 weeks on Wednesdays going forward on YouTube. That's there. Every Friday, as you've probably noticed, we also have the old cast that I've added still imagery and subtitles and some other little quirky stuff too.
And Kung Fu.
Yeah, that's coming out. That is every Friday at 7 a.m. And obviously we have the regular cast. So we're trying to expand out a little bit. A lot of you have contributed to our Patreon, and I wanted to make sure we took that money and reinvested it correctly. So we are reinvesting it into the cast to improve what we can do for you guys. So hopefully,
By any wild chance did you remember to put us on ultra low latency?
I think we both know the answer to that.
Oh, we have a crisp minute something delay then.
Yeah, I'm
That's
watching.
going to be rough.
Yeah, how do I? We'll be fine.
Can't fix it. That is a before you go live thing.
Cool. So anyway.
All right. So we're just going to have a long time.
Yeah, the nice thing is because there's a movie in the background, I actually can tell, I can see the difference. But anyway, we might as well just kind of jump in, guys. So for those who didn't realize it, we did post this ahead of time on Facebook and our Discord. So we got about 90, no, maybe less than 90. We got quite a few questions in. We got, about like 50 questions came in that way. But that being said, the chat's right here. If you guys have more questions, go ahead and ping us there. But without further ado, oh, actually, sorry, there was one more thing I had to do. See, I'm remembering, a smart person. There also we had a little competition going on within our Discord. I thought it was actually really cool that they did this. So 2 people figured out we had our finding
word scramble thing.
Yeah, the word scramble thing. And so I want to say the first was finding the bonus word of retune, whatever it is. So yeah.
How do you mess that up consistently?
Yeah, whatever.
Just go ahead.
Threaders found it. Congratulations, that was awesome. When they told me they're doing this word scramble, I was laughing. I'm like, I'll never find it. And then the second one was Monkey Planet. You found the main word with this was Chorgus. So there we go. Big thanks to you guys. Thanks for contributing. For everyone who plays around in our Discord and is in our Discord, it really is awesome you guys are there. Remember, it's not just about like Brad or myself or the moderators. The thing about the Discord is it's designed to be about the Discord members. And so the more you guys interact there, the better it is for everybody, as I've said before, and recently got yelled at in the last month for doing it. It is a free Discord that I will never charge for. That one person had a very strong opinion about that. They were wrong. But it is something that means a lot to us. And so the more you guys interact there, it really does help everybody out because it is rising tide raises all ships. The more of you that are coming in there and helping out and contributing and asking questions and playing around, it makes that really an incredible community. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. With that, let's get into the questions. So
give me some questions, Joe.
All right. Can Brad cheer for a certain sports team with colors matching the Ultramarines? They claim they have $5 US for you.
Fine. Go blue.
Anyway, for those of you who are not in the US or even in the Midwest, Brad is a diehard Ohio State fan, which is in the US, we get upset when teenagers miss a field goal. Brad's one of those people. And they're opposing
I don't really
school
like
with
this
blue.
negative Nancy stuff we're talking here, John.
Although to be fair, anyone in Europe who watches like football in Europe goes, yeah, we also yell at teenagers for missing goals. But their teenagers make a lot more money. Anyway.
I don't know. We pay our athletes kind of a lot.
We do. All right. So, hey guys, I've really enjoyed the cast. I wanted to thank you both for offering entertaining, informative dive into the broader 40K universe. A question for both of you. What's the biggest appeal that drew you both to your favorite Space Marine faction? Go ahead, Brad.
I started with Chaos, then went to Eldar, and as far as Loyalist chapters, it was the Space Wolves, because they are a crazy bunch of bikers at the time. Their original lore was them being psychos on bikes with tattoos and beards and braids, and it was just awesome. So that's why I was first Space Wolves.
And then what was your second one?
Second was the Salamanders, I think.
Yeah, I think you've been rocking Salamanders for a long time at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had my first was Space Wolves, and I got entire Space Wolves army done where I had the ruins on all the bases and stuff.
Yep.
And then Salamanders was one of the first things that Snakes took a lot of time painting for me. My Salamander army looks really cool.
Okay. I like.
Plus, I just wanted someone to be the good guys.
Yeah, I liked Ultramarines because they're the best. It's really that simple.
fine.
What? It's also
You
painting. Although I actually will say, I think I'll do something later this year is the plan. There's been a real heavy request for us to dive into some of the ancillary chat, like the kind of your Minotaurs, your Karkadons, etc. I don't own a Space Marine army currently. I probably should own a Space Marine army given the size of my collection. So I am debating actually painting it in one of those schemes, and it might be like a poll we'll do later, and I'll let you guys decide which one it is, unless I have a really strong opinion about one of them, in which case I'll just do whatever I feel like doing.
Jesus, I love everything that's going on here in chat. I own Raptors.
Oh,
I
who wrote?
still own those.
Brad, do you see the comment?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I said I love everything about chat.
That's just great. All right. So anyway, part two of the question is, anyone from the Discord who knows me knows I'm a big Ultramarine fan due to my constant love of data, planning, logistics, and of course Excel. And in fact, they wrote their own codex for household management. It doesn't help, but they're hoping we don't get poisoned again. Yeah, Ultramarines are awesome, guys. I mean, truthfully, all that matter, it doesn't really matter which faction you play. I mean, even if you want to play the most obscure thing, or the dumbest thing, or the best thing, even if you play White Scars, which we know
really
I have
cool,
some
man.
strong opinions on, it's awesome.
Yes, you do.
It's still awesome. Play your army, love your army, and just hope GW writes good rules for your army, so you don't have to run your army as a different army because otherwise they're not competitive.
This is hurtful talk.
Oh.
Chat goes, Brad, what got you to weightlift and what made you stop? One, I was short and I was mad about it, and I didn't stop. I'm just less.
That's the part. That's that question.
Exactly.
Caleb, I don't know if you understand how much that question just hurt Brad, because what you just said, you just questioned his gains. That's what you did.
I literally did sets with 405 and deadlift for 8.
Someone literally just
this
said,
morning after the hospital.
Yeah, you just got
hurtful.
asked why. Yeah, you just got asked in chat why you skipped leg day.
I was just like, I did one of the toughest exercises this morning after my MRI. Actually, talking about poison, I got purposely poisoned myself.
I went to jiu-jitsu this morning for an hour and a half where we actually discovered at jiu-jitsu there's a guy who's been training with me for close to a year who just discovered 2 weeks ago that, I do this cast. He's been listening to us for the year.
Yes.
And was like,
love it.
Like, yeah, exactly. I'll jump in next question in the chat. What's our favorite Lord of Tabletop rules implementation? And why is Trajan's acquire the objective and swapping bodies with another model? Yeah, why isn't it? Because Trajan's one doesn't work. That's the best, the main reason why is because if it did work, if Trajan had the ability, I don't know if a lot of you have seen this, but in the Imperial Agents Christmas supplemental for Assassins, is the Calidus, Brad? Who's one with the hair? Is that Calidus?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Calidus can...
Alexis is the one with the giant head.
Yeah, the Calidus can...
The is a sniper.
Yeah, the Calidus can flip places on the board with any of your models. The model dies, but they can flip places on the board with any of your models, and I love that rule. I'm not going to run that detachment, but I love that rule. And Golem, it was Nogi. I mostly do Nogi now. I've done Gi and Nogi. I'm 20 years into Jiu-Jitsu, but mostly at this stage I do Nogi. That's where actually all of my world championships are from Nogi. So, anyway, next question. If you could join one Space Marine Legion chapter, which would it be, and which unit would you be from that army? We know Brad's picking Imperial Fists, so we can hang out with his boy.
I'm picking Space Wolves, and by the way I feel, I would be a Long Fang, for sure. I'd like to say I'd be something else, but no. I would just be damn young kids doing their crazy blood claw shit.
Yeah, I want to live, so I would be the guy who pilots the spaceship.
Actually, it's funny. He goes, when Brad looked shirtless, I had a normal shirt on, and I assumed John was going to wear something normal, so I put on a pink unicorn shirt to represent. So.
Yeah. Oh, also, before I keep going, I totally forgot. We didn't push these guys enough. One of our listeners, actually a bunch of our listeners, run a distillery in Wisconsin called Hatch Brewing, Hatch Distilling, so hatchdistilling.com. Unfortunately, they don't ship outside of Wisconsin, but for the few of you who live in Wisconsin and listen to the cast, buy this stuff. It's delicious. All right. That's that one. Want to make sure I did that for
You're not wrong.
Yeah, it's very good. It's amazing. I don't live in Wisconsin, so getting it was a little bit of a path. For me, like, so that's that one. Next one would
We need
be
to wrap this up so I can go back to the gym.
get some gains. Just hope you guys know Brad was thinking like grabbing a tape measure and measuring his bicep live, just for all of you.
Give me a question, Dan.
Yeah, all right. The next one is, can you guys tag or make a category for Brad's rants about stuff such as Lords of Terra plot holes, his complaints about GW, etc.? He'd think it'd be fun to rewatch those episodes. So basically, I think we're having like a super cut of Brad and I just like, ripping into people, into some of the GW writing. I'll be honest, it's pretty much every episode.
I mean, I have actually started prefacing with, hold on, I need to do a Brad rant real quick.
Yeah.
So there is that.
There have been a few of these.
There'd be more, except for one of us edits this cast, and I lose a lot of time because John thinks it's hilarious when I make a giant point to just go, I'm going to throw this one in the trash just to upset you.
I'm going to let you guys know a secret. Brad thinks he makes these incredibly eloquent points, and he's all upset that I delete them. I have to listen to 45 seconds of what is best case gobbledygook of Brad going, literally, this is important, literally, and then eventually a trailing off point.
Words of wisdom.
And so I take that and just cut to the end and go, here's what Brad was saying.
You like the dude that does the videos of, he's like, and she did this, or he did this.
Exactly.
I just saved you 6 minutes.
The next one is, would you guys ever do a UK-based event? I actually just got back from the UK. I was there for a week and pulled off something very impressive. I went to the English coastline and got a tan. Not easily done.
It'd be tough for us to do that because Zach's been putting on huge events pretty much everywhere in England, and a lot of them.
Yeah, it'd be more. What I will say is this year I can't do it. I do think next year I'm going to come out to play in an event in UK. I've always wanted to. The one I'm looking at most likely doing is London GT, but we'll see. And that's only because London GT has a very storied history. Not a good one, but it has a very storied history, and I'd like to come see it. I've done Adepticon. The same way I've also never done LVO. I've never played in a 1,000-person event. Adepticon, I believe, is the largest event I've played in. Yeah. Adepticon's the biggest thing I've played.
Well, I'm going to go on the wall because I want to talk about one of the last things we recorded, which won't be out for a little bit, but it was hilarious. So, Taylor, you go. Finally, I can see Brad's gesture madly. We recorded episodes just recently, and I wish they were video episodes because both of us talk with our hands anyways, and we got super animated for about a half hour, and I was so sad that you guys couldn't see it because we were just wildly wandering around for the whole time, for just a long time. There was a lot of talk of Lords of Terra, and it gets me pretty juiced.
Brad was going hard in the last one. Just because someone asked in the Discord where in England, I was in Norfolk for about a week, and then I was in London for a few days after that. I did get the joy of being in London for what is an Imperial was I think 31C, or other way around, sorry, 91 degrees, and a metric was 31C. And yeah, your guys' lack of air conditioning made that a treat.
Brutal. Absolutely. We had an event. I'll go into that because of the change between Fahrenheit and Celsius. We're stupid Americans because we use Fahrenheit. But so we were in Czech and it was 99 Fahrenheit. It was just really hot. Didn't have air. But we kept saying this, and we're going to the WTC, the World Championships, the team championships. And we keep talking about how it's 99, and all the other teams are around us going, everyone would die if it was 99. Like, what are you talking about, man? That's not a real thing.
99 Celsius is like, I think that's what Venus rolls around at. Yeah, no.
Like, everyone would die.
Yeah. That's a hard no. But to your question, I think UK, it's more likely Brad and I would come attend an event there. Truthfully, it's like we're putting on some events here in Michigan. It's local for us. We have another one that'll be coming up in October. It looks like we're finalizing the hotel right now. We're doing them here. It's more, there's almost a void of major events here, so we're filling it in. The UK has no shortage of events.
No, he's been crushing big events for a couple of years now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, DJ.
And well done. He's just doing huge events.
Yeah, like so. DJ, also to your point, I'm from Italy originally. Like we have a home up in the Tuscan Hills, which is lovely. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, when it gets hot there, it just sucks.
I really like going to Athens, and since I've been dead for a while and I'm room temperature all the time, heat doesn't really bother me.
Oh yeah, I did Morocco in the summer one year. I went to the Atlas Mountains. Yeah, I hung out in a pool. All right, so this question.
Give me a question.
Yeah, this question. How exactly did you get into Warhammer and what attracted you to it? Also, Vulkan lives. So, Austin, we'll give you a short answer here. But if you want to know more about this, watch the video I released on Friday. Brad and I do actually spend a lot of time talking about this. One of the number one questions we get is, how did you guys get into 40K? And number two is people talking about what was 40K like. So we actually have made an entire series now.
Releasing every 2 weeks. I'm not answering this because I'm shamelessly promoting our other video.
Yeah, well, but it is like kind of like Brad started playing because he had. Well, I do love your story because it's like, how old were you? Brad started playing Warhammer because he wasn't allowed to drive and he had to be dropped off at a game store because. Brad, why?
Because of my first open heart surgery.
Yes. So figure out how old he was by those two like potential events and how those could ever go together.
The best is I've been playing for a quarter century, and I was 29 when I started playing.
There it is. Yeah, I started playing when I was very young. I was playing at like 12 or 13 years old, somewhere in that realm. But then I quit for almost 20 years. I played video games, played Dawn of War, all that stuff, and then I came back when they got rid of armor rating. So
you hate that so much
because it was an argument. I don't like things. I don't.
It's because you were rolling battle wagons and they were skinny and had 14 armor on the front, and you never got 14 armor.
Yeah, that was why it just became, the game was too argumentative. Right at the start of 8, they cleaned the game up a lot. They broke some rules, a lot of rules, but the game became, in my opinion, less argumentative and more like. Long story short, guys, my opinion of 8th edition, 9th edition, and 10th edition is you get disappointed in the rules, but you're not angry at your opponent. Whereas in 7th, very much so. But in some of the prior editions, you would fight with your opponents a lot.
Sniggs did back you up last night. I was over Sniggs' house. He came to grab me, and I asked him about templates, and he said I would melt my templates down twice.
Yes.
Because they suck.
They suck. All right. Same question again. Came from Chicken Fried Duck. What got you into 40K? Exactly the same answer. That's how I put these guys together. But onto some more like lore questions. Is it possible for Chaos Gods to directly fight each other, and have they done it before? I don't think the gods have fought.
It's yes and no. They've never actually physically fought, but there's also the argument that even though they have a bunch of stories about it, I don't know if the Chaos Gods actually really have a true form. And we can argue that for a while because the lore has been wildly different on that. Because there's tons of talk of things happening to Khorne, Scarbrand hit him and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But all of them have wildly varying forms dependent on what aspect of themselves they want to take on. So, and because of the fact that the Imperium is pure power and thought, it's in belief and emotion. It's tough to say if they actually have real forms or if they're just in there and powerful and gaining power. So you can make the argument for either, to be honest with you.
I would also make the argument, like, it might be something where inside their realms they're powerful, and inside someone else's realms the power doesn't go to them. So Khorne might step into, like, Nurgle's realm and all of a sudden not be Khorne anymore. It might just effectively evaporate him effectively when he walked in there. So that's why they've never fought directly, but their proxies have fought a lot. All right, longer one. How do you think the Heresy would have panned out if the traitors and loyalists were on opposite sides? As in the Ultramarines and Dark Angels were traitors, Luna Wolves, World Eaters were loyalists. Love the podcast. And yeah, World Eaters is coming soon. I'm getting my way through kind of writing some of that stuff up right now.
That's like super hard though, because some of those chapters don't work as chaos. Which is like some of them just they had to have half and half for the story.
Yeah.
But certain ones of the chapters, the way that they operate doesn't feel right. Excuse me, if they went to chaos.
So, yes, and yeah, I would argue like Ultramarines just don't make sense as chaos, candidly. Same with but like Space Wolves could be. And Iron Warriors could have been
because
loyalists.
they would operate like world eaters.
Yeah, that's the problem. And then World Eaters, how could World Eaters ever stay? Well, I guess they could. I mean, actually, Night Lords are kind of where the more interesting question would be there, because Night Lords, Conrad he did love and hate the Emperor, so it's possible. You know, I don't know.
It could be. It's hard for him though because he's super crazy, but it could have been like the tortured, anti-hero almost, and stayed.
Yeah, and I could see it being more like that.
That's a tough question, though, because I'd have to really think about, because some of the people Chaos use their weaknesses and their flaws and stuff. Like, we talked about this not that long ago because we just did the Emperor's Children cast.
Right.
I love Fulgrim's fall, and it's hard to think of other people having as good of a story as that, because he fell because of pride. The Horus fell kind of because he wanted to supplant his father more so than anything, and thought he was doing good in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a tough one. You know what? We'll talk about that.
Probably
we might do one of the side casts actually. To be honest with you, that's a really long, good question.
I like the idea. The Canton in the Chateau asked, "What are your thoughts on a 40K VR game?" There actually is one. There's a Sisters of Battle one.
Sisters of Battle one. It's actually pretty cool.
I don't do VR. It's a thing. I don't play VR games. So I can't speak to it. But I know people who like it, so that one does exist. In the future, I expect stuff like Space Marine 2 to become a VR game. As VR gets better and better and better, it just makes sense. Most of those games will turn into that. But for now, that one does exist. On to the next one. It looks like Imperial Fists are getting a refresh of some kind. Maybe even their own Codex supplement. I believe they will be getting that. What would you like to see them? What do you think would make them more competitive? Rogel Dorn would do that pretty quickly.
Rogel Dorn would put him back on the page. They need a better detachment role. No one has an actual detachment.
It's actually is a good one.
The Anvil is terrible, dude.
No, it's just not as good as the other ones.
It's wildly worse than the rest of them.
But if you gave them better strats, give them better strats, and I think my thing is, I think the Anvil, the base rules of Anvil are actually pretty good. Those are pretty good. The problem is the strats aren't there. If you give them some strats to boost a bit more,
it's just everything's based on sitting still, and that's not what you do in competitive 40K right now.
All right.
The whole game's movement based.
It's
just difficult to do that.
I get to this. X Assassin just asked the question: why do you hate White Scars and Jagatai Khan? All right, I don't hate them. Well, no,
You're a liar.
I do. All right, let me get through this.
I actually think you dislike the Scars more than you dislike Tau. To be honest with
you. All right. So first off, it's more.
Pretty close.
My issue with them actually has nothing to do with the chapter. Or my issue has to do with the lack of complete writing that GW has done around them. So, for example, they are really important all through the Horus Heresy. Massively important. And then post-Horus Heresy, why? There's nothing, they don't play a key role in anything. And they played a lot of key roles in the Horus Heresy. All the other loyalist chapters who were part of the Horus Heresy, who were important in the Horus Heresy, have had massive events. Blood Angels, Jesus. Dark Angels. Who else? Ravens. Everybody but the White Scars.
The White Scars have been just abandoned in modern 40K.
We just finished recording, and you guys will get them as they come out, our War of the Beast. The War of the Beast is 12 books. The White Scars in it aren't in any of them.
And they needed everyone.
Yeah, everyone went.
But they didn't call them.
They never called the White Scars. The other issue I had with the White Scars is this also spreads over to their horrible codex in 8th edition, where they were given one of the best powers in the game, which is Advance and Charge with bikes. And
the chapter master isn't on a bike.
There we go.
So stupid.
There we go. So my issue with White Scars is not I don't like White Scars. I don't think they belong in the game. I'm just annoyed that we have to talk about the White Scars. There's not much to talk about because GW just kind of abandoned them. So there you go. Iron Hands also fall into that category. I didn't know the Iron Hands existed until they were given that broken rule at the end of 8th edition, and I had to play against Iron Hands for 6 months.
Chains?
Yeah.
You don't want to 2-up with 3-up Feel No Pain.
Yeah,
Bananas.
with a chaplain dreadnought that I had to play against every single time. I think GW manufactured 11 chaplain dreadnoughts, yet somehow I played against 27 of them.
And we'll talk about this because we talk about the 7th and stuff.
Yeah.
7th edition was so nuts with that because Iron Hands had an unkillable guy, and it was still not good enough to be popular played.
Yeah, that's true. All right, next one. Will you plan to cover individual books focused on specific space marines? From Gavin. I assume what you mean is some of the heroes of it. We'll see. We just did our first dive into novels.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, we also just did our first dive into novels. And one of the challenges you have is like when we're doing a Lorecast and we're talking about the lore of the World Eaters, for example, we can go kind of wide. We dip into different books, but we never really spoil anything. That's definitely one of the challenges, is that when you're doing coverage like this, what I don't want to do is have someone like, for example, we haven't covered the End of Death series at all. And that's because there's some incredible new pieces of lore in there on books that are less than 2 years old and are sold out. So I'm always like nervous about doing this. Do I want to do a deep dive on Gaunt's Ghosts? Yeah. Caiaphas Cain? Yeah. Eisenhorn? Yeah. But I don't want to ruin people's books.
I've been pushing us to do a Caiaphas Cain episodes for a while now, and you've been shutting it down.
Because I don't want to ruin, because the problem is it's hard to do Caiaphas Cain and not having someone say, well, I guess I won't bother reading that book now. You know, that's the flip side. So I
think we could psych them up to read the book. Caiaphas Cain's a boss, and he's hilarious.
H2O Hawkmoon. I want Brad to answer this question. I asked, did you ever play the Night Lords in a tournament?
I did. I already put it in chat.
Oh, there it is. How many times? And why don't you play the Night Lords in tournaments more often?
Back in the day, they had a great infiltrate rules for a while.
Yeah.
That was them and Alpha Legion.
Yeah.
And then effectively, Alpha Legion got the old Night Lords ability, and the Night Lords just never got it back.
Yeah.
So
it's because the Night Lords traditionally have been they affect leadership, and leadership doesn't matter.
So I'm saying, you asked me if I have played it, but it was 20 years ago. So
there we go. Next one. If the Iron Hands are called the Iron Hands because they have iron hands, their Primarch has iron hands, and their ship is the Iron Hand, is it the same thing for the Imperial Fists, or are they normal? Sort of. The Imperial Fists...
they are Imperials with fists.
Yes, with fists. They also... Their Primarch, when he died, all they have left of is his fist, and they've named a bunch of the chapters after said fist. Fist Exemplar, Crimson Fists, Imperial Fists. It's a thing. It's not the world's best naming mechanic. I'll just go with it that way. Next one. Hey guys, are the Salamanders still one of the smaller legions in today's age? They were always a bit smaller, but now they didn't split into offshoots like everyone else. They did split. They're still constantly recruit. I'm wondering if that's changed. Keep up the good work.
The answer is just no. They did split, but recently also they took a huge amount of losses right after Angron blew up the Coral Engine. They were caught up in that mess, so they lost a huge amount of their force, and that's pretty current lore, and it's kind of left out there. We will get more writing about that to see, but they were large. They became regular as far as Codex compliant, as far as the size, and then they split into successor chapters. So.
And we know there was not a leak. GW published it earlier this year, a picture of stuff that was coming, and one of the things that's coming is definitely Salamanders. So I'm really interested to see what they're doing, which means they're getting a codex. I'm interested to see what they do with that codex. There was original thought that Vulkan was coming back. Maybe he is. We'll know probably.
It just makes sense. He's come back multiple times. He's clearly alive. Also, he's clearly alive and got his mind back again. You know what I mean? Because that was a real problem. Is he has been messed up multiple times, and book-wise, they kept basically taking him in, taking him out because of his mental state after his perpetual nature.
Yeah.
Nobody has had more. I would challenge anybody else. Has anybody had more awful shit happen to him than Vulkan? he's gotten obliterated a lot, and
Well,
I'm not even
it's because
counting
he cannot die.
Yeah, the year that Kurz killed him every day, So, but like he's got smoked so often.
Yeah. He also got to not die. I mean, Sanguinius got smoked one time.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was not epically bad. I'm just saying Vulcan's had more epic bad stuff happen to him because he is a perpetual.
That's true. But yeah, but to answer the question, I think it's kind of a we don't know, and the reason we don't know is intentional. GW's got something coming out. So usually when they release a codex, they do move the story ahead a little bit. TBD. Sometimes they move it ahead a little bit, and it's like, okay, that's coming. Sometimes a lot. So for example, like bringing Fulgrim back to life, or when they brought Magnus back, or when they brought any of the Primarchs back. We are grossly overnumbered between loyalist Primarchs and traitor Primarchs. We know there's more loyalists coming just because of the way GW functions as a business. So I expect we'll get another one. I would laugh to the end of the earth if it's Jagatai Khan. Just for the record, if after all of this, everyone's so excited, we don't get Lehman, we don't get Vulcan, we don't get Rogel, we get Jagatai Khan, and then I have to
I'd be so pissed.
Do you really? But think about my side. I have spent 30 casts making fun of them, and all of a sudden they actually do move forward in the lore and get good rules.
It's just they're the main Legion coming out.
It's like, what's John talking about? I'll have to go put a timestamp. A little note. This was from 2025 or 24. Ray-Ban was asking what makes him a perpetual. They just are. So some beings are perpetuals. Malkador was a perpetual until he wasn't. Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's 100% Highlander. They you can tell the movies people like. And yeah, Highlander made it in. So to answer how Ludo NL asked, the way perpetualism works is you die and you actually will regenerate. It's not just like Highlander where you get stabbed and you get back up. In the case of Vulcan, he's been disintegrated and actually reformed.
He's been disintegrated. He's been nuked.
Yeah.
He's been dropped into effectively localized black holes. He's had a whole bunch of crap happen.
Exactly. Now Malkador was also a perpetual. Malkador died because Malkador was entombed in the Golden Throne. The Golden Throne was sucking his life essence out of him via the warp.
Yeah. I was about to say it was he basically took soul damage. Yeah. So
and then the very last thing he did was he was holding the Golden Throne together when they brought the Custodes and Rogel and them brought the Emperor back to inter him in the Golden Throne. The Emperor was basically dead at this point. And Malkador used the last of his soul and his energy to kind of almost like jump-starting an engine, jumpstart the Emperor.
Use that term for you.
Yeah. I mean, so he used himself as jumper cables. So perpetuals can die. It's just it has to be more of an extreme scenario like that. Or cut their head off with a sword, probably.
Justin, perpetualism is significantly different than what the Eldar do.
Yes.
Eldar were basically reincarnated because they have, right now they have an affinity circuit through the spirit gems, spirit stones. But before, Eldar life was just forever because they were just reborn, keeping memories and stuff like that.
Yeah, so. the Eldar were a reincarnation. They weren't perpetual. They would reincarnate with all their memories. What's the best Space Marine faction in terms of power dynamics on the board and lore? Ultramarines. Close. It just is, Brad.
It used to be Death Watch.
It is, but then Death Watch stopped existing for an edition.
Yeah, I mean, but 8th edition Death Watch was probably the closest we've been because when they went against when they went against Xenos, they were OP, which is what they should be because they're Xenos killers.
All right, Brad, I'm going to say it. Gilliman plus Hellblasters in 8th edition. Early Gilliman. With Hellblasters.
Desolators.
No, this is pre-Desolate. 8th edition. Desolators were 9th edition. Remember, 8th edition Hellblasters with the Ancient. With Gillimans. They would fire, overcharge. If they died, they then would refire again.
Shoot
full
again.
rerolls to hit and wound.
And they crit on 5s.
Yeah. H2O Hawkmoon asked, "What's our favorite Traitor Legion?" Mine's Death Guard. But it's not really a lore thing. I enjoy playing them. I like how they play.
I like a lot of them, but I'm always gonna have soft a space in my heart, in my broken pig heart.
I was gonna say which part, the part that you made, or the part that.
Yeah, but my first army was War Leaders, so I'll always have a little favoritism towards that.
Are we gonna get an update to Dark Angels episode? Yeah, actually, at some point. Same with like the Orc episode. It was good, but it was our first dive into a faction, and I think we found our voice a lot better. I mean, some of these stuff we did like 3 months in. We were trying to find our voice. I feel like we now have, and so I expect that going forward, we will redo. We'll find ways to kind of redo some of the old ones, not necessarily redo, but revitalize.
We may revitalize. That would for sure be the one that I wish we did now almost.
Yeah,
the Dark Angels episode was fine, but it wasn't. It was not my favorite one.
I'm still proud of my viewpoints on Luther, and I will defend those to the end of this earth. It is.
Those are probably the best things in it, though. But there's a lot of things that we could have gone. The Dark Angels were just so flavorful. You know what I mean? And I don't know if we did them justice.
We may have to just redo it from like a modern lore standpoint. But all right. What are your thoughts on Marines that serve the Emperor but also use the powers of chaos? Ooh. We'll be covering this. Let's put it that way.
I like the hybrid type stuff because I think it's very fun. Because it also is very good for the story. That's one of the reasons I don't like the Fists. The Fists are too good. The same reason I'm not huge on Ultramarines. Don't hate the Ultramarines at all, but
you're wrong.
But I'm just saying, those guys are just like, they are what they are. I like a lot of the anti-hero type stuff. You know, they can. There's a lot of Marine chapters. It's also a lot of the chapters that operate. If the farther you are away from Terra, it feels, the more likely you are to ask for forgiveness as opposed to permission to what you're doing, because there's a lot of the stories are from those guys using chaos against chaos.
Yeah, I like it from the lore standpoint. It just gets a little bit complicated. It's the same, not the same, but it's not that far off from what are the knights? The independent knights.
Oh, the Free Blades.
Yeah, it makes me think, like, I like that concept of like I'm here to do good, sort of, but I'll use evil to do my good. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, kind of. Well, I'm going to hit this question real quick in the chat.
2K. Yeah.
Do you guys prefer the standard 2K games, or would you prefer playing larger 3K games? 2K for sure in a tournament setting. Bigger games are only cool if I was playing at John's house, or you're hanging out at a random game store. Those are really good for scenarios and doing stuff. The larger the game gets, the more broken it can be, and just really the time skyrockets when you have to manage that much stuff.
Yeah, the other thing too is, so when people talk about the size of the game, so the game was 1,500 points, then it became 1,750. Now it's 2,000. But if you look back between the 1,750 and the 2,000, it's about the same number of units, and actually the board's even smaller than it was at 1,750.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's because GW just adjusts the points, so the points become a little bit arbitrary. What I will say is, if you're playing Space Marine on Space Marine, it's nice to have more points. If you are like me and you own Horde armies, you don't want me bringing more points. Like, you know,
I don't even know if you could fit 3,000 points of orcs on the table.
You saw what I brought to our tournament. I barely fit.
I'm just saying, like, you play another 1,000 points, it doesn't even fit to play it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, well, it wouldn't. I played 2,000 points of Orc Boys, and I actually I couldn't fit everything on the board. So if you gave me another 1,000 points, that'd be another 80 boys. That wouldn't be. It would have been less than ideal.
More than that.
Yeah. Cthulhu brought up a fun part. We talk about Marines that serve the Emperor, but powers of chaos. Was it 7th edition where the Grey Knights were the best demon summoning army in the game?
Yeah. Yep. It was them and Eldar.
Yeah. There was a weird.
They both had defense versus psychic checks.
Yep.
So you could just not take damage. Also, what's his face is just rolling around with the most cursed demon blade of all time.
Oh yeah, very much so.
You're like, hey man, we're purifiers. Who's your leader, dude?
Yeah, we're fine. DJS, what's your least favorite models to assemble and paint? Go ahead, Brad.
I don't assemble. I don't put together models, period. I have shaky, busted hands for one, and I've never put anything together.
Yeah.
But I have painted. I started painting. Hell, it's almost 2 years now that I've now been painting, which is a big deal for me.
Yeah, one.
I pulled out paint last night.
Yeah, but
Castle and Crow, yes, that's what you're talking about.
what's your least favorite model to paint? Your favorite model to paint?
I like painting bigger stuff because I think it's easier. I'm also terrible at painting. Painting fine. Everything Eldar painting is just hard. They are so small.
I was waiting for you to. So fun story. So Brad started
orcs
painting.
are so easy.
Yeah, Brad started painting with orcs. And everyone was laughing. We were all like, "Oh!" And he was very proud of himself, and we were all proud of Brad for painting them. And he mentioned he was going to paint Eldar, and every person who knew Brad went, "You can't paint Eldar," because we realized that we love Brad, but Brad can get a little confident in himself, and so Brad felt, "Well, I can paint orcs. Why couldn't I paint Eldar?" And it was like, cool. Here's Lycus.
I'm the king of the world.
Yeah. Here's the new Lycus model. Good luck, Brad. And he's just like, why are there so many small pieces?
Everything's an edge and a blade. Ugh, so hard.
So I'll give the same thing. The easiest and kind of most enjoyable is my guard tanks. Lehman Russes go together really well. You can use airbrushes. You can use putty. You can do a whole bunch of things to make them like all my guys are camouflage. Really easy, and the aesthetics look good. Then go over it with some Agrax Earthshade. They're good. Same with Necron. Necron warriors are really like a nice. Hey, I can paint a bunch of these. Thousand Suns. Oh my god. My Thousand Sun army is only 3,000 points, and I need more rubrics, and I just won't do it because it was so brutal painting them.
Oh, you have to edge everything.
Well, so I will say online people did give me the advice of I rattle canned them with Retributor, and then I put the blue in over top, and that was easier. But I mean, I'm still wearing reader glasses. I've got magnifiers. It was a process.
Oh, this is a good question, actually. Why are the Demon Primarchs never the champions of chaos? They get Mortarion and typos. Why is Ahriman Tzeentch's champion? I have a Brad theory on this, which is I kind of think that Tzeentch was pretty done with Magnus as far as everything that he wanted to do plan-wise, and he's still pulling Ahriman's strings pretty badly. Yeah. While Ahriman's a fantastic character, crazy smart, a tragic chaos character, with his brother and everything else, he keeps falling for everything that Tzeentch keeps pulling the football away from Charlie Brown style.
Very much so.
Just constantly. Yeah, he keeps falling for it every time. I think it's not even more of a champion. I think he just enjoys screwing with him more than anything.
Yeah. The next big question is one I enjoy. What are your thoughts on the Legion of the Damned? Is there enough to do an episode about them? Yes. There is enough.
You're gonna get Brandon popping in. His entire Marine collection is done with Legion of the Damned.
I was about to say I love the paint scheme of Legion of the Damned. I like the lore of Legion of the Damned. I am a big fan of Legion of the Damned. So yes, we will be covering them.
It's also been banana pants retconned.
It has it though. I mean, so here's the thing.
Yes.
Hear me out. It's never been that definitive. So that's my thing. That the reason I like them is that we say it's been retconned. There are things squats into Votan. That is a full blown retcon. Some of like Zotes retcon. Legion of the Damned was never that definitive or clear. So I'm just saying. Maybe.
Fine.
There we go. That's all I'm going with. But yeah, very, very good. Justin Childers asked, do you think any demon Primarchs could or would turn to chaos?
Turn against?
I think meant to say turn against chaos.
For sure. Like easy.
I can see
that. He doesn't even like them.
Well,
he's using the power to use the power. He doesn't really give a shit about them. He's a bad guy, but I'm saying I could see him turning against them really quickly.
You want the one actually, but I don't know. I disagree with you. I think it's Magnus and Angron.
I don't think Angron would ever leave, just because he ended up just embodying rage at that point. He did,
but what I'm saying is Magnus does not like Tzeentch. And
Magnus hates Tzeentch.
Yeah, and that's right. So he would turn, and I think Angron would love to kill Khorne.
he's not really turning about it. He's just supplanting him as that, you know. So I don't really know if that's turning against him. I agree on Magnus though. Magnus is very mad because he just made a bunch of bad deals. Yep. But Perturabo just doesn't care about them. Like if someone else offered him power, he'd switch that hat around to team whoever in a second.
Yeah. All right, so what tinfoil hat theories do you have for the 2 redacted Primarchs, especially considering that some of the tiny bits of lore that do exist in the books? I'll let Brad go on that one again, because I got some really goofy ones.
It's funny because I just watched recently, Jervis Johnson was talking about that, and like how they put like little things in so that hopefully, you know, years down the road, people would come up with new ideas and run with them. Just like, I mean, we got the Horus Heresy fleshed out, and it was a line in a rogue traitor in the beginning of the game, and it was one sentence about the Horus Heresy and the Civil War, and then it became, you know, the basis of the game. As usual, I'm wildly running off of my own tangent, but the 2 redacted, there's a lot of that in the fan lore has done some really good stuff with that.
Yes.
As far as they've always been out there, you just didn't realize it. And well, that's just for the one. Go with one of yours because they've got a lot of the fans. I kind of want to link these real quick. To be honest with you.
The 2 that my ultimate tinfoil one is and this was going to piss people off. Don't take it the wrong way, but I'd like it to be one of them was female. And they actually and that was the issue. And then that's how they bring in female Space Marines into the lore. That's one of the ones I have, which I think would be kind of a cool, like, it's a weird redact. But the more common one that someone already mentioned in chat is that one of them was a blank and was actually the most powerful blank in the galaxy. So powerful that they actually were sucking the power out of the Emperor. And so the Emperor had no choice but to kill them.
Deuce them out.
Yeah, that's the...
You can't find him either because you can't scry him now either. So.
That's the one that I really think could be part of it. The other one was kind of a loophole for the GW to create female Space Marines would be the other option. But the one I do think makes the most sense given just how it was. And then of course, you know, the more realistic, less tinfoily ones is that, yeah, they'd already fallen to chaos. By the time the Emperor had gotten there, they had already been corrupted and
he destroyed them.
Yeah, because for example, Magnus actually was that. Magnus had been talking to Tzeentch before the Emperor ever got to him because of where he was. You could argue Lorgar may have or may have not been, but it's also equally likely that the Emperor got there and found someone who'd already declared themselves to, like, you know, Slaanesh. And
sorry.
Nope.
Real quick for everybody. Good question on that.
Oh, yeah.
A blank is someone that not only can't be touched by the warp, but shuts it down around them.
Yeah, they're a black hole. They're a warp black hole. It's not just that the warp doesn't affect them. It's that when you place them near the warp, they suck the warp out of what it is. So a blank staying next to a caster, that caster can no longer cast spells because they actually can't access the warp because the blank is preventing the power from moving. We also had an earlier question of, is Ferrus Manus the leader of the Legion of the Damned? That's a theory they've heard. It's, again, these are all fan theories. It would be a cool way. That would be a fun out of left field, as we say in the US, way to bring a Primarch back, where GW releases a box set, has Ferrus Manus in it, and for Legion of the Demand.
So pissed if that was the deal, though.
What, all 11 of them? I mean, call it out. Like outside of the end of 8th edition.
You know what? You're not piling on the damn Iron Hands. Next question.
I just want to make sure I missed some of the other ones. All right, where do we go? And we're going on to what was each of the Primarchs' superpower given to them, such as like big E, by like Horus's charisma. We've covered most of these. It was.
I think we did all of them.
I have to pull the list. Give me a second.
I'm literally doing it right now. I got it.
Yeah. I have to pull all the Primarchs. I will forget one. I know Jagadice Khan one was being an NPC. So Horus, we've been over. Leman Russ, his superpower was. Go for it, Brad.
I'm just getting the list because they basically put up the wrong list on my first thing.
Yeah, but I've got the list up.
And my mouse is double clicking, so it's pissing me off. I'm just at the 40K wiki.
Yep.
Do.
You want me to read them off?
I do.
All right. Let's go Lehman Russ.
I'm going to throw my
It's fine.
my mouse across the floor.
All right. So Lehman Russ, what was his superpower?
List them off.
I'm going to Lehman Russ. So Lehman Russ's superpower was violence, basically. I mean, that was.
He also had like an anti-psyker ability. You couldn't do psychics on him. He wasn't a blank, but he had resistance.
So they totally did.
My joke always was the fact that he did the Roadrunner and he just refused to acknowledge that psychics existed, and that's why they wouldn't work on him.
That's fair enough. Next is Ferrus Manus. His superpower was actually forging. That's why he had iron hands.
Well, he didn't just have iron hands. He had liquid metal hands. They were literally living metal like Necron, Necrodermis. So he could make things and everything. My favorite superpower of anybody is the fact that Angron's superpower was that before he got the nails in his head, he's an empath.
Oh yeah, Angron's actually one of the Angron's the hardest one because he actually was the kindest of all of the Primarchs.
He was supposed to be
and
the
then
diplomat,
tortured into being a monster. Fulgrim's superpower was also somewhat kindness. I mean, looking good. We'll go with that one.
He had a weird thing of perfection. It was almost like his superpower somehow was supposed to be OCD, which was weird.
Yeah. Then you have Vulcan. His superpower
he's just a perpetual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rogel Dorn, fortification. Rogel Dorn has, we say fortification. Rogel Dorn has an inherent knowledge and understanding and comprehension, really, of just physics in general. Like the fact that Rogel Dorn. Let's talk about
have the same thing.
Well, but it's different because the difference is so for the example I use of Rogel Dorn and I separate them is Rogel Dorn found the Phalanx in orbit. This was at the time he got there, 10,000 plus year old spaceship that no one had done anything with. He was able to figure out how it worked, got it back up into working order, and turned it on. That's Rogel Dorn's real ability. Was he's able to he just sees things in a way other people don't. Gilliman,
Perturabo saw weaknesses. So
exactly.
He could spot structural weaknesses and everything.
Exactly. That's how those two would flip back and forth. Gilliman's was just organized, which doesn't sound like much, but it does matter. Magnus, psychic powers, no question there. Sanguinius, probably his superpower was just being the best.
He was a precog.
But he was beyond precog though, because so was other ones. Sanguinius was a precog.
Yeah,
who also
I'm saying
fly.
He was a precog, but he also had. And he flew. The funniest thing about Sanguinius is he flew, and he had huge angel wings, but he didn't fly because of the angel wings. He literally flew because of psychic powers, which is hilarious.
The next one would be Lionel Johnson. I mean, Lionel Johnson's best power is being better than Luther.
But he has
he's an incredible warrior.
The ability to. He has psychic sight, though. He can see people's auras, basically, and once he got reborn, it actually became way better and more powerful.
Peter Abodid, Mortarion was just toughness. Mortarion's superpower is he is tough. He can resist poison better than almost anybody. He also is an incredible psyker, but that was more his thing. Lorgar, Brad, what's Lorgar's superpower?
He sucks.
His definitely
superpower is
fighting.
He's awful at everything.
No, to be fair, Lorgar's superpower actually was not that different from charisma. I don't have a better word for it, but Lorgar was someone who was able to manipulate. So whereas Horus had charisma, Lorgar had it. He was a manipulator in his charisma. That's what Lorgar was really best at.
Lion's power is now the Forest Walk, but he also had other powers before that. Yeah. Lion got the Forest Walk after he got back.
A
lot of the Primarchs would have basically grew more into their powers if they were still around. You're seeing a lot of the Primarchs get more and more abilities, and the corrupted Primarchs didn't get to maximize their original gifts because they got corrupted by chaos.
Jagadai Khan, not mattering. I'm kidding.
I'm going to let you do that one. I have it in front of me listed. I don't even care.
Yeah, but Jagadai Khan, much like the White Scars, his thing was, again, the way Rogel Dorn could understand technology. Jagadai Khan did some really cool stuff with engines and whatnot. We covered it during one of the Horus Heresy books. For example, every single ship in the fleet of the White Scars was faster and had
super.
they all
Everyone's
had,
got nitro.
yeah, that was kind of his ability. He understood it. It wasn't just the thing with the White Scars to defend them. I do, again, as I mentioned earlier, if you guys are just tuning in now, I brought this up earlier. My issue with the White Scars is nothing to do with the White Scars themselves. It's the fact that GW didn't really kind of follow through any of the White Scar stuff. White Scars at kind of like from a high level view are amazing because they've got this like, they make their bikes faster, and so it's not just they can fight, with they're hanging off the side of a land speeder, but they also fight off the side of a land speeder that's moving at Eldar speed. Conrad Kurz, his superpower was being a precog, but also being bad at it. He's actually one of the few people in the game who's worse at being a precog than Eldred. Angron we covered.
Stop throwing shade at my favorite characters.
This is just fun. Korax, it was just being sneaky. Korax was...
He could be invisible.
Yeah, that's why.
Korax, in fact, he was invisible. Yeah. It's a pretty cool superpower when you want to sneak up on somebody. His invisibility was also not just invisibility. His invisibility is he didn't show up on anything.
Yeah. And lastly is Alfarius Omegon. Mostly the fact that there's two of them is their superpower. The fact that they had a twin. And may have been able to shapeshift
anywhere.
Yeah.
They're that's always the question. Alfarius and Omegon are supposed to be, and I like this that they leave it in the shadows. You know what I mean? Yeah. I like when they leave some stuff up in the air.
Yeah. Next question: did the loyalist Primarchs ever miss their traitor brothers, or is it just pure hate? Yes and no. It depends on the loyalist.
Yeah. Lion was not real big on forgiveness or longing for his fallen brothers.
Well, so for example, and we talked about this in one of our more recent casts, and I forget which one, but some of the Primarchs did not like their brothers to start with. And the Lion is one of them. The Lion was not a huge fan of a lot of the other Primarchs. So when they turned to Chaos, he was on, or Traitor, he just went, all right, I kind of wanted to stab him the whole time. And now you're saying...
nonsense. I mean, he hated the Night Hunter, and he wasn't a huge Fulgur fan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that was the thing. So it's kind of like, it varies around a little bit. I think that, I know Rogel actually is probably one of the calmer of the group. Although he didn't miss...
He never got along with half of them, though. He was known to be very tech-turn and just not...
Better than Lehman.
Lehman was a wild man, dude.
Yeah. So, next question. Please stop being mean about me and my sandcastles, from Rogel Dorn. Yeah. I'm with you on this. I actually like Rogel Dorn a lot more than Brad does. I think that of the group, I think Rogel Dorn's one of the more...
If Sneaks didn't have 50,000 points of Imperial Fist and a couple of my other buddies when I first started playing on Imperial Fist. Also, I did hate the fact that when they went up to the Vengeful Spirit, Sanguinius gets there immediately, Emperor comes right afterwards, and Rogel Dorn is wandering the halls of the ship. That always kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
At the same time, Rogel also spent 1,000 years of time being with Khorne trying to corrupt them until Khorne got bored because he couldn't do it. He outlasted Khorne.
Yes, it's because he's just stubborn. It's just no. The best way to get Dorn to do something is to say he's not allowed to do it.
Justin Childers asks, have either of you ever made a homebrew legion? Brad, have you? Because almost 100%. All of mine armies are. My orcs are pink for orcgasm. That's what I call them. My Tyrannids are a red and black. My Eldar are also red and black, as do the colors I like. So I would say about my Votan, which only a few of you have seen. My Votan are painted like Santa Claus, not on purpose.
That is true. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
you didn't even realize that either.
It was by accident. Yeah, I did. So I batch paint. This is a fun story of painting models. So I always do homebrew. So to answer Justin's question, almost always my Death Guard and my Thousand Sons adhered to traditional colors. I think that's of all of my armies. Oh, my Death Watcher, obviously, they're black. almost all of my armies though are in some way an off color, and I laugh about this a little bit. So I bought 2 boxes of the Votan starter kit, so I've got like 60 warriors I'm painting up, and I decide I'm just going to batch paint. So everyone got what was it, Rakarth flesh for like their like pants and whatever. So I did all those first, or maybe it was the tops, whatever it was. Then the second color I went through with was Mephiston red. And I got through about 25 models. And as I'm painting, I'm kind of just looking off to the left as I'm painting, looking at the models I painted, going, that scheme looks familiar. Where have I seen this before? That scheme looks familiar. Where have I seen this before? And all of a sudden I realized I just painted, at this point, about 40 models into Santa Claus colors and had no choice at this point but to just lean in. So my entire Votan army, which is close to 4,000 points, is an army of Saint Nicholas. Oops.
So you just gotta have Mariah Carey singing in the background for you.
Oh God, that'd be. I mean, I would just win games because people would just walk away like, nope. Anyone who's had a retail job like I've had their lives be like, nope, I'm out. I'm not. Nope.
Christmas time.
Next one is when do you think that another loyalist Primarch should return and make lion stories or make lion stories? The lion they kind of abandoned a little bit. There will be more literature. I'm going to defend them in this one sense. Writing a novel is hard. So it does take years. Unless you want bad ones, it will take years. I am sure we will get more lion stuff as we move through. But as far as another Primarch, I expect at the latest, it'll be within the next 12 months of today.
Because 100% will be in the next 12 months.
11th edition is next year, right?
You can make arguments for Vulkan. I mean, Lehman Rush should have already been here. It kind of bothers me a lot. I've already talked about this before because the 13th Legion came back and he's supposed to be with them and come back.
Yeah.
It's the sign that he's coming back for the end times. Yeah, you could definitely bring back Lehman. I mean, you could bring back Rogel Dorn at any time, basically.
Yeah.
But I don't know how good of the story goes with it. But Lehman and Vulkan make a huge amount of sense. Vulcan's come back multiple times, so he could at any point in time come back.
Yeah.
So, but I really I'd love to see Lehman. I mean, the John Tin Hat theory is that he's going to come back in 11th to move the story along.
Yeah.
I think that Vulcan's probably going to come back this edition within the next 6 months.
Yep. Another question here kind of lines into that is a King in Yellow. The King in Yellow is complicated because, again, the King in Yellow only exists in 2 novels, mostly in 1, so we don't know a lot about it. I view the King in Yellow as being a option point for GW. GW could...
It's based off, super old stories, isn't it? It's like
Eisenhorn.
No, I'm talking about the original King in Yellow.
Oh, the original was, yeah, but that's why he was there. Originally, it was kind of almost hinted it was Rogel Dorn, honestly. And then Eisenhorn had flipped because the King in Yellow's now is trying to uncover the Emperor's true name. It's a little bit goofy, but I view the King in Yellow as a narrative device where they could, if they wanted, use the King in Yellow to bring a Primarch back or do some hard shift in the lore. Next one's answer. Anybody like some of the pre-asked questions? What are your thoughts on the canon, the size of Space Marine legions? 1,000 does.
Hate that.
Yeah, we all hate it.
It's bad. It doesn't make any sense. But it's been in the lore for so long. They get around that by saying that there's 1 million successor chapters and they're all 1,000, and that also several of the legions just don't care. The wolves split, kind of not really. They have as many people as they want. Exactly. Also, things like Death Watch have wildly more than 1,000 people. So a lot of the people get around that. It doesn't make any sense anymore, considering the size and scale of the engagements that are going around the galaxy. It was one of the things that came out very early in the lore, and they just kind of stuck with it.
Right. Next question. Will you cover the Lion's return, especially the book about his return? Yeah, we will. I mean, candidly, that's probably how we'll cover the Dark Angels again, is more about how it's moved forward and how it's moved the lore forward. And we'll talk more about
we'll do the mojo with the Fallen and the Risen is something I really like.
And then Maisie asked, why is Lehman Russ the worst Primarch? I can answer this. Brad?
No. Just no.
Really? Who follows hey, Lehman, here's the plan. All you have to do. I mean, I'm not sure who runs off battlements for no reason more than him or Jagadai Khan. If Lehman Russ had been back for the defense of Terra and he had been told, stand on top of this wall, don't leave this wall, just shoot down at them, I think it's the exact same story as Jagadai Khan.
Look, no one's going to get glory by sitting on top of a wall, and no one's going to see your sweet tats or your braids, man. You got to dive in there. That's crazy talk. What are you going to talk about in the halls, drinking with your comrades afterwards? I don't want to tell a story about standing on a wall. I want a story about me doing a backflip and chopping somebody in half.
Yep, and then
That's awesome.
Someone did put something in the chat that came back out about the King in Yellow being about who it is. Some of the new books do kind of reveal it, but I'm staying away from that. They also talk about it. Yeah.
I walked that back quite a bit. I was going to beep you if we did that now. That's a very recent book.
Very recent book, and also I'm not 100% it is. I'm also not that sold on it. There's a lot of, I'm going to take a moment to say this. There's a lot of stuff in the End of Death, or end in Death, whatever. The End of Horus Heresy books, those novels, that is light years new to the lore and does kind of flip a lot of lore in its head. There's elements I kind of want to let some of that dust settle, for lack of a better phrase, because, man, some of that really changes almost everything we've ever known. It's, obviously GW signed off on these books, but I just want to give them a little bit of time before I say some of that stuff's definitive.
It's been a hot minute, though.
No, but it has, but especially some of the Emperor stuff. Like, there's some stuff in these books talking about...
Well, yeah, that's been very current.
That's the stuff. That's where I'm really scared of.
When Cypher walks in and stuff like that, there's a lot of semi-current.
There's a few stuff in there where it's like, hey... And that's why I just want to give him a little bit of time to clean it up a little bit. That's all. But also, to answer your question of why Lehman Russ is the worst Primarch, because he doesn't follow directions at all.
It's awesome. Well, he's the best Primarch.
What was he sent to do by the Emperor?
They're the Emperor's assassins. He did a great job of that.
What did the Emperor tell him to do?
Hey man, Horus intervened and said you should probably smoke check them. And I'm just saying, there's a reason it's called the Burning of Prospero.
Yeah.
That thing is gone.
Yeah. And Chris Replay actually said that Dan Abnett's been hinting his next book will be a massive change. Dan Abnett, he's the best writer they have, and so I think GW kind of goes
long shot.
I think when Dan Abnett says, "Hey, I'm going to do this thing," GW, everyone goes, "All right, we'll write some new codexes," because his writing's just too good. All right, long one. You ready? What are your thoughts? All right, so it's kind of covered already. What are your thoughts on the redacted Primarchs, which are not known? Who do you think they were? Where do you think they'll be brought back? Do you think they were somehow part of the Horus Heresy? And do you think there is somebody apart from the Emperor who knows of their existence? I can answer some of this.
Malcador knows everything.
Well, Malcador is gone, but you know who else knows? Fabius Bile, because he cloned them. Because in whatever book that was, Fabius went through to clone all of the Primarchs, and he had all 20. So Fabius is aware of them. That's, again, how I think they could come back into the lore, is Fabius brings them back into the lore. So there's that one. We covered a bit more about them earlier, but that was the one I wanted to kind of call out right there. Were they part of the Horus Heresy? No. Well, who knows? GW can do whatever GW wants. But in my opinion is that...
things later on, I think.
Yeah, I mean...
Because you can do a lot with them. They're free for all, so you can go anywhere you want with them. If they want to do new mechanics, new bastardized race kind of thing, maybe they're corrupted by chaos, they can be something in the future. They leave those out specifically so they can do stuff later on with them.
Yeah, and I would say that they were killed. We do know that because Malcador told Rogol Dorn that, and actually kind of almost shit talked Rogol Dorn in the process of reminding him, hey, you were there when we did this. And then Rogol says, I know, but I can't remember. And Malcador went, yeah. That was mean. Malcador is one of the characters I find more challenging because he's cruel, for lack of a better phrase. genuinely cruel. And I realized someone asked a question earlier about Necrons that we never answered, and I'm trying to find it real quick. But while I do that, I'll go to this one. So the next one is, if Primarchs are beings of the warp, why don't Sisters of Silence or other anti-warp things have any effect on them? They kind of do, because we only have 2 loyalists. And they're not really on the board very much with Sisters of Silence.
We haven't seen a lot of interactions with it, but I also think that they are warp beings, but I think they're almost like encased. It's like they're filtered. It's tough on this.
Yeah,
because they're warp beings. They're like Terminators. They're metal with a flesh growed around them. That's kind of how I think of the Primarchs. They're
because
it's warp energy encased in human.
And because it gets complicated, because you've got, if you put Sisters of Silence or any blank next to like a demon that's manifest within the Imperium, they will de-manifest effectively. But if you take a Psyker and put them next to a blank, the Psyker doesn't die. They just don't have their access to their powers. There's a lot of questions about like what happens when you put them around the Emperor. If you put them around, it's a good question. Candidly,
let me go on the wall real quick on the thing. Bobby G probably knows a ton of stuff, but we don't know exactly what he was told by the Emperor when he had his conversation with him.
Or if he spoke to him. I mean, that's the thing. He claims, because the thing is that Bobby G walked into the Emperor's throne by himself and claims that he spoke with the Emperor. Any chance that Korak turns the tabletop?
I think he'd be super easy, but I don't think they know what to do with him, because I like him as the boogeyman, because he's currently just chasing down some of the other Primarchs.
Lorgar.
Like he's on a mission to just kill Lorgar. Yeah.
Lorgar. Yeah.
So like he's been walking through. He's in the warp right now, just murdering things. But also he's full on a demon Primarch effectively right now. He's gigantic, invisible. And
that's what I was going to say.
People in the warp.
I don't think he comes back, and I'll give you 2 reasons behind it. One is what Brad just said, where it's like right now they've got him kind of set up on a cool thing where he's like this demon in the warp who's hunting them down. But the other one is more just a business wise. Raven Guard aren't a major faction in the game. They're not heavily played. The reason that everyone expects Leman Russ to come back is because Space Wolf players are psychotic, and if you make a Leman Russ model, you'll sell 10,000 of them at release instantly. At release.
You won't be able to make enough of them.
That it just from a business standpoint, it makes sense to bring him back. I think Rogel could also sell really well, because candidly, I'm just going to be honest, you saw that with the Lion. When the Lion came back, it didn't sell very well. There's not a lot of Dark Angel players. There are Dark Angel players, but it wasn't this massive, like, oh my god, I have to have this. You bring Lehman back, you're sold out. I mean, you're sold out instantly on that one. So, also the question about what would happen if a blank got near a Chaos God. It's kind of impossible, because I don't think a blank could enter the Immaterium.
Enter the warp, yeah.
Yeah. So, that answers that one. All right.
I mean, they kind of do, though. They travel, and they have to be encased in killer fields, though.
Next question. I already answered. What if a missing Primarch was a powerful blank? Would it work against the Emperor's design? So this is one of my personal fan theories, is exactly this. This is why the Emperor killed them, was because you had the most powerful blank in the galaxy, whose power was so great that it actually sapped the energy out of the Emperor being in their presence, and the Emperor went, nope.
All of the nope and more nope.
Yeah, that's not happening.
And Chris, there is a thing. The blanks aren't just powerful to affect Primarchs, Big E kind of thing. I do think that they have their own personal power that does shield them. So there's a lot of that.
It's possible. Next one. Even if the Emperor himself got up from his golden throne and told Leandros that Titus was free of corruption, would he still be skeptical? Yeah.
That was very good.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, Leandros would still be on team. I'm not buying it. Nope. Like you're all wrong. You're all wrong.
Is that even? I'm leaving that there. That was fantastic.
No, that was a great one. All right, I like this one. But I'm going to caveat it. Who's your favorite Inquisitor and why? But you can't pick Eisenhorn. Go, Brad.
That made me mad because I was just about to jump all over Eisenhorn.
I know who you're going to go.
No, I'm going to go a little bit more. I'm going to go with Kodiaz.
Why?
He's got a lot of cool stories in the beginning of the Grey Knights and his dealings with them. Okay. And he's also got a Cyber Hawk.
I detest that model.
That's the other reason I picked it.
Much. And I know that's why you did it.
I'm going to go with Greyfax because Greyfax has the coolest hat in the game.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's a witch hunter.
That's actually where I'm going. The irony is I'm actually going Greyfax. Greyfax is my favorite because I enjoy the fact that she's just this psycho is released by treason, is her first chance being back like with humanity, looks over at oh God, what's the name of Saint Celestine? Sees Saint Celestine and tries to shoot her in the head.
Like 3 seconds upon being let back in, goes.
And by the way,
nope,
and is in the middle of being saved by the saint. Like, this battle is lost. Thank God we have this saint who's here with the golden light of the Emperor behind it. And she went, nope. Like that.
She basically pulled down her hat, went, nah, ain't going out like that.
yeah, that dies.
Heretic.
Now. I'm a huge fan of her. It's just because she's just out of her mind.
I had to choose Kodiaz because I knew you hated the model.
I detest anything they add an animal to a model. Why? Oh, this guy's got a hawk. The Tau have drones. Just throwing it out there.
It's so, if I could pick guys, I'm picking him by a mile. He's got so many cool books and everything else.
Yeah, well, that's why you can't pick Eisenhorn, because Eisenhorn's automatic. Everyone gets Eisenhorn. Like, who's the best? It's Eisenhorn. All right, what else you got? All right, next question. If the Adeptus Sororitas ever found out about what the Grey Knights did to the Order of the Ebon Chalice on Van Horn, would they try to attack the Grey Knights? Yeah.
Instantly.
Yeah.
That's not even a question.
Yeah.
The answer is 150% yes, because they would kill some people with collateral damage just in case they knew about it.
I mean, don't forget, the truth about the Adeptus, here's how this would go. The Adeptus Sororitas would look at that and say, oh, so we are more righteous and more believing in the Emperor and the Grey Knights. Therefore, we can kill all the Grey Knights. Simple, easy, done.
Sisters might be the most hardcore in all of 40K in their beliefs.
Yeah. All right, next one. I actually don't know this answer. I'm hoping you do, Brad. How many aspect shrines are there in 40K?
They've just added a couple, actually. We've got...
Well, so let me ask you this. We have the listed ones, and I can open my closet right there and get that answer pretty quickly. But are there ones who don't have playable models? That's what I don't know.
Well, I don't think so, to be honest with you. I mean,
okay,
they have a couple that they talked about. Yeah.
I can look it up.
But the Shining Spears still don't have a Phoenix Lord.
Yeah, a lot of them don't have Phoenix Lords. I mean, hell, Warp Spiders didn't until 7 weeks
2
or so.
seconds ago, yeah.
I mean, that's a thing. So, okay. Dire Avengers, Crimson Hunters, Dark Reapers, Fire Dragons, Howling Banshees, Striking Scorpions, Swooping Hogs, Warp Spiders. So there's 8 listed, but that's today. It doesn't mean that they won't add more in the future. So,
and if you want to go crazy, because I love my Eldar so much, they have aspect shrines for non-martial promise.
Yeah, well, and the thing about an aspect, and the thing to keep in mind about an aspect shrine is that there was originally one aspect shrine, and that and then that was Dire Avengers.
Avengers first. As
like Phoenix Lords have risen up, they've created new ones. So there's nothing stopping them, GW, from adding more, and it would be it would not be like a retcon. It would be a 100% lore accurate maneuver.
Yep. And you could do it for other things. Like, Autarchs almost have a shrine because they have the entire way that they go about becoming an Autarch and what you have to learn.
Exactly. Someone else here asked, what are the odds of a semi-official alliance between humanity and the Eldar? The Inari seem cool with part humanity, and is this all just out of necessity? Brad, would you like to explain 7th edition and why we're never going to get that ever again?
Because they broke the game, but yes. They should have finished the storyline, though. In lore, it's amazing and it makes sense.
Lore-wise, Ray-Ban, 100%. Lore-wise, 100% yes. They should align. In
If
fact,
we-
they did
no,
align
but if
on
we-
Cadia.
Yes.
They did. Yes.
If we do an end times, though, yes, the answer is 100% yes. If they push the story all the way till the Emperor gets up, Slaanesh gets killed by Yenade and stuff like that, 100% yes. But until then, no, because the Xenos chapter, the hating chapters of the Marines would always just try to kill him on sight.
Yeah, but it is really it broke the game the last time they did this, so we see them kind of leaning back away from it again now. Let me do one more under the question from DJ, because I like that question. Will you cover Infinite and the Divine? Also, please cover Trays in his collection. It's just too iconic not to cover. Yeah, we will.
There's so many things in his collection
because it's silly.
Stories.
I mean, we did cover it a little bit when we talked about Emperor's Children, because forever the Emperor's Children's gene seed was the victim of like a weird something. Like no one, like it was always hinted as to what happened to it, and then we found out later. Oh yeah, no, Trazen found it and stole all of it, which was actually just a super dick move. That book, first off, Infinite and the Divine. I will say I'm always a little bit reticent of covering a book like that because it's so good that I think everyone should read it. Whereas the reason we did War of the Beast, I'll just tell you guys, it's 12 books and they're not great. In fact, some of them are kind
super
of
cool
bad.
Overarching story though.
But some of them are bad. And
It
so
also
I didn't feel
changed
bad.
the way the Imperium works though. It might, again,
oh no,
we talk about this.
The lore is great.
It might, yeah.
The writing wasn't. That's
Also,
what I'm saying. Yeah. Whereas Infant and Divine, the writing's really, really, really good. So I'm a huge fan of that. Anyway, but yeah, will we cover him more? Yes, we will. DJ asked a question we can spend some time on. What are your favorite units in your favorite factions, like Intercessors and the Marines, etc.? Brad, what?
I'm a huge striking.
Let's do 3.
I like striking.
Just do 3. Yeah.
But I could do 3 in Eldar.
I know. But it's okay to do only Eldar. Go. Do 3.
Reapers with Magan Ra, because I love Magan Ra. Striking Scorpions, I just think are awesome because I love the idea of the fallen Striking Scorpion, which ended up being Drazar. Then we brought in Karadras.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've always going to have a soft place in my heart for anybody with a jump pack, because I think the just ridiculousness in Marines of them having jump packs is just so crazy to me. And they could punch planes for reasons.
All right, so I'm gonna copy you a little bit, but I'm gonna make it better. First off, one of my favorite units, I've never played a game of orcs without them, is Storm Boys. I've never not played a game without Storm Boys because
also I love their old rules even better.
Their rules now suck. Their old rules were hilarious. Where they would explode, it was way better.
Yes.
Way better time. But Storm Boys are one of my absolute favorite. I love the way the model looks. I love the lore of the model. I love the way the model plays. Everything about Storm Boys, I love. If I'm going away from Storm Boys, then I would probably move in the Space Marine faction. I just don't love a lot of Space Marine units. Some of them are good and bad. But actually, no, I do. Land Raider. Which one with all the guns, Brad? Is it Redeemer? Has all the
Redeemer's got the flamers.
No.
The
Crusader.
You want the Crusader with the K bolters.
I love the Land Raider Crusader. Has it been good? Not really ever, but I love the Land Raider Crusader. When I rebuild my Space Marine army, the first model I will buy will likely be a Land Raider Crusader.
New stuff though, I really like the idea of Gravis armor. I like where they went with Primaris. A lot of the big stuff.
I would also say
I think that
of the rest of the models in the game, Deathshroud Terminators. I love Deathshroud Terminators.
Deathshroud Terminators look badass.
That's why they look awesome. The lore is incredible. They've been with Magnus since basically day one, wrecking shop, and they're eternally good. Those are probably my 3 favorites.
I can add, what's the Eldar one that's no longer with us? They used to move and scoot. They had flamers.
Oh yeah. Shadow.
Coolest model.
Shadow Specters.
Shadow Specters. Yeah. That might be the coolest models. Just utilizing.
Oh yeah, those looked incredible.
Flowing stuff behind them.
Yeah,
they're badass.
I will say in 8th edition when I ran them at -4, I had some opponents who didn't think they were awesome. There we go.
Death Knight Terminators are also cool.
Which ones are Death Knights? Oh, the Dark Angels. The Dark Angels.
Angels.
Yeah. I just don't like Dark Angels. I mean, hell, I like our also the Lehman Rust tank. It's just cool. The Rhino. There's a bunch of these ones in the game that are just maybe they're iconic. Is what I'm getting at. If we go to Tyranids,
I get it. I just don't like tanks. It's just
you don't.
I'm just
Yes,
not a
I
tank
do.
guy.
I like tanks. I would also say on the Tyranid line, Raveners, who now just got a glow up, but Raveners are cool as hell. The Trigon's one of the better looking models. That's been mostly crappy. Who else?
I wish they would redo the Catan. By the way,
well, they mean the Nightbringer.
Why is the Night?
The Nightbringer, because the what's it called? The Void Dragon looks sick.
Void Dragon's badass. It's just the death.
And the Transcendent looks good. Yeah, the Nightbringer's just like what?
Transcendent's okay.
Well, it looks good. I like the Transcendent. Well, I like the Transcendent inside of the monolith or whatever it is. It's open.
Oh, you like him and say when he's he's good in that. I just don't like. I don't like him on the board singularly.
Yeah, he's like that in the board. Yeah, but there's a. I mean,
like locked in.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, so I was talking to someone the other day about this. I own almost half the armies in the game. It just happens from collecting, and I mean, there's a lot of armies, but there's certain armies I put on the board, and there's models I know who will be in there every single time. So there we go. Here comes another long one. Here we go. Hello, fellas. I like that. As a truck driver, your Lorecast jokes about Uranus; those are never stopping. And the slow but sadistic overtaking of Brad's email address by bots is keeping me sane on the highways of the Czech Republic. Brad's been there. So have I, but Brad's been there more times. I was listening to your lore episode with Drukari. You said they are in possession of this flesh-devouring poison, and immediately thought it was the best weapon against Tyranids. It was in 8th edition. And so my question is, in the books, is there any weapon in development against Tyranids which could hold their invasion or even give a chance to mankind, destroying them as a whole? And what would be the strategies in using them in lore and tabletop? So in 8th edition, in 8th edition,
Deathwatch.
They do, but
Dark Angels Dark Eldar just don't care. You know what I mean? Because in the end, they're like, even if you guys die, we'll just be inside the webway. But Deathwatch in 8th edition, when they came out, had it in the lore. They have anti-Tyrannid weapons that they maintain. They have actually like weapons that will start cutting people off from the hive mind.
Yep.
So they've actually got a ton of stuff, and that right now is completely not anything they do, which Deathwatch was so much cooler in 8th edition. Sorry, they just were.
Oh, but I mean, also, but I will say, as someone who played Drukari and Tyranids in 8th edition, we didn't like that was a bad matchup.
Drukari wipe them. Every single thing, one of their things worked on them.
Yeah, because there was the way poison worked in 8th edition was it was basically if you weren't a vehicle, it poisoned you on a 4. And so your Swarm Lord got poisoned,
and you
got wounded on a 4, and you could
buff it to 3.
Yeah, if you ran whatever that one thing was. So you would have a Swarm Lord that was T7, or basically las cannons were wounding it on a 4, and so was the pistol that every single one of my witches carried. That was fantastic. That wasn't great, but I do expect. I think your question is going here, Mark, is as far as stopping the Tyranid invasion, this is exactly what I think will happen. My expectation is that the Imperium will deploy either themselves or via thanks to a Xeno race, some sort of thing that will kill off the hive minds. And what you'll see is it'll be like StarCraft. Effectively, what'll happen is then the hive mind will pull the forces of the Tyranids back to re-engage, thereby saving the galaxy, but also the Tyranids will be coming back stronger later. To me, that's a natural progression of the hive mind.
Leviathan has to be defeated. Out of any of the hive fleets that will probably either cease to exist or exists wildly different, Leviathan's the closest one. It's the biggest threat to Sol.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be the one that gets smashed if you're looking at lore.
Next one is this one. Why is Trajan stealing random cool shit? Because he can.
Because he can. He's the collector.
Yeah. Just simply put, because he can. What do Brad and John hope to see and learn the Votan Codex is releasing? And what? When do they? I think it was asking is when the Votan is releasing, and what do they hope? I hope we get it before the end of this year. What I hope for is an answer to what the hell happened to the squats.
Yeah, what happened to the squats? Also, they did such a bad job of giving us exactly what the hell the league is doing and why. You know,
I like that.
so
I like the mystery.
a little bit, I guess, but like they're enough contact that they should have. In original squats, the squats were trading with the Imperium for forever.
Because they were the Imperium. I mean, the original, I'll call it out, and we'll cover this in the cast. The squats were originally in the core of the galaxy, which is the highest gravity density, and they were actually basically made short by heavy gravity. And what they did was they also were miners, so their weaponry was insane. The Space Marine legions in war with the squats had to change their armor because the squats were so powerful. I mean, it was really, that's how strong they were. And then the squats literally stopped existing. GW just went, yeah.
I still have my box, damn it. I gotta find that.
You should probably find that box and then paint it up. But, you know, it's probably pewter, so good luck with
it's
that.
It's the pewter. It's
the pewter trikes. Oh, those aren't great. But what I hope to see is that answered. I just want a bit more information on what the squats are. So, for example, are the squats Xeno? They might be labeled Xeno by the Imperium, but my question is, are they Xeno? Because they're not. We know they're humans, but I want to see them shift and dive into that a little bit more. I'd like to see. Cthulhu had a good comment there. I would love to see in the next book the Votan and the Admech go to war with each other. I think there should be a shadow war between those two, where the Admech are going to that part of the galaxy to loot the Votan of their technology.
Put them down,
and that's why. And those two are going, and that creates, to me, that makes more sense. The conflict between the Votan and the Imperium is not the actual Imperium. It's the conflict between the Votan and the Admech because of all that stuff. My opinion. And I think I'm right. So anyway.
I think I'm right. And that's all that counts.
Yes. Next one. During the War of the Beast, did anyone ever see an actual orc in the scrap treasure pile of armor that starts moving? Or is it possible the orc simply believed that it was the beast and essentially made an orc golem? Damn it, Chad. We're done recording now, and I would have totally used that.
Yeah, that's so much better than what we said.
Yeah,
about
I've never even thought of that take, and it's a great take. And unfortunately, we're done recording, and I can't add it in. But good on you, love it.
It's also better than what was written.
Oh, much better than what was written. I love the idea that there is no beast. The beast is actually just he's a being of orc belief. Would have been way better.
I'm so angry that I have to hear Prime Orcs again.
That one hurt. Don't worry, we're done recording. We're good for a while. All right. In the Infinite and Divine, it explains that destroyers will destroy any organic matter, leaving a planet with no animals or plants at all. The Tyrannid wiki says that they need a constant supply of food to nourish high fleets and create new Tyrannids. Mm-hmm. Does this mean, in theory, they could possibly use to create a fire break between the galaxy and the Tyrannids?
Yes.
If they cleaned up
100%.
Yeah. So to kind of get through all this question, not only are you right, I'm not sure how correct you are. The Tyranid invasion fleets actively avoid Necron worlds.
Yep.
So
100%.
That is, just so everyone's aware, they actively avoid Necron worlds. You are completely 100% accurate. I'm not sure if it's as much to do with destroyers or whatever it is, but the Tyranids do not invade Tomb Worlds.
They also stopped even. The only one that's around demons is Kronos, and I wish Kronos worked like they work in the lore, because they effectively make it so that the demons can't manifest, because they were killing demons and not getting any biomass. So they were just like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Same kind of thing with the Necrons. Necrons are also super okay with wrecking places.
Yep. Next one. What are a few unfinished, unrealized storylines you wish GW would bring back and do a more deep dive into? I am 99.99%. I know what your answer is going to be.
I mean, it's 1,000% Ynnari.
Yeah.
And they left this on such a cliffhanger. It's ridiculous. Just fix it. It's so much cool stuff. Also, how did they move on Bobby G without ending the story of what he was doing with Yvain and the Ynnari? It was so good. Gathering Storm was fantastic. Shitty rules, but fantastic story.
No. Amazing rules if you played the army. horrible rules if you did not. I would also say I agree with Bregman. My theory on why they stopped advancing it was I think someone all of a sudden realized that, hey guys, we're like 2 books away from ending the game.
Yeah,
because the way the story was progressing was like, oh, and now Bobby G and Yvrain and a couple people killed all the Chaos Gods. Oh. Well.
pretty much, yeah.
Now what do we do? Sigmar? Sigmar 40k?
Sigmar did blow up, fantasy.
This is what
100%.
Sigmar did, and I still think it was a mistake. Next,
Yes.
one question I did see is H2O Hawkmoon, which H2O, great band, but I realize it's not what you're going for. Did the 2 of you like the Night Lords lore-wise? Half of us do.
He doesn't, I do.
Half of us do. They murder and skin children alive. I'm going to go ahead and pass. I like their lore. I like a lot of stuff about them, but I'm also on team like, hey, when you have a chapter who specializes in murdering children,
I actually I don't like the chapter as much as I like the Primarch.
Yeah,
I just think the Night Hunter's a crazy good bad guy.
Also murdered children. Just saying.
Yeah. I said he was a bad guy. I didn't say he was. I'm voting for him.
Yeah. All right. What is the best way to deal with the ebbs and flows of the meta in singles tournament play? You have 3 options. 1, borrow all of your models from all of your friends. Brad. 2, my method, own everything. Everything. Just own everything. Or 3, just wait it out and accept losses, which is the best one.
I don't care. I do. This is, I tell people even that I coach and stuff this. Everybody said, a lot of people say, be a master of one army. If you have 2 armies that have different play styles, whether they're the best army or not, you're going to have fun playing. Because most of the time, if you have 2 different armies, one of them is pretty good.
Yeah.
And you can't chase the meta. The meta just changes so fast.
And it changes aggressively too. It's not just that now it is. When Brad and I, so Brad's been playing longer than me, but in my more modern play, which is like, we're probably coming up on almost 10 years now, the meta would shift, but it would shift more gradually. And so an army was good for a year to a year and a half. Now, 3 months, you can go from top to bottom pretty quickly.
Especially an army could go the best and then get nerfed and immediately be their worst.
Yeah, the advice I tell everyone is that if you're going to play an army, you need a minimum of 4,000 points of the army. And I say that because your army will always be somewhat good, but it will get the rules changes, the points changes.
Units will
move
get
you around.
smacked.
Yeah, my orcs, literally that closet there, which you guys can't see it really anyway. So there's a closet over there and a closet here contain my orcs, and I've got almost 12,000 points of orcs now. There's no orc army I can't play, and I can't play well, except I actually don't own a Gorkanaut, a Morkanaut, or a Stampa. That's the only models I don't own. Personal choices. But what I'm saying is I can adapt to orcs. Whatever they do, I can play orcs. My Eldar is my second largest with 11,000, which is over there. Same thing. I can adapt to whatever they do with Eldar. But even
that army's wildly been different too, because they've changed what's been good in Eldar even wildly more so than the orcs.
Yeah, and the orcs, I think, but that's why I tell people, you have to have 10,000 points. Although if you have Space Marines, you may. Space Marines are one of the tougher ones, unfortunately, to build out because there's just so many models available. But you just have a large collection, and that's how you kind of deal with the ebbs and flow. But the best way to deal with the ebb and flow is it's okay losing. You're going to have games you're just going to get stomped in.
As long as you're playing something that you have fun playing.
Yeah.
Because I even when the thing is I change armies a lot, but I have the attention span of a gnat. And half the time I'm not changing armies just because I want to play something different, not just play the top meta. I will play the meta, but if the best army in the game is something I don't like, I just won't play it because it's again still toy soldiers, so I want to have fun.
All right, next one is this one hurts. This one hurts my soul. How do you feel with the psychic phase, and would you bring it back? Yes.
Yes, 100%.
Thousand Suns just did. I'll give Thousand Suns credit. The new Thousand Suns Codex brings back the psychic phase. Give me back my psychic phase.
Yeah, I like the psychic phase quite a bit. I really miss that quite a bit. I hate the fact that they put all this stuff in shooting.
Yeah, the psychic phase is amazing. It was a great phase of the game, and if you knew how to play the game, it didn't like I've been playing. I mean, I've been playing this game competitively for a long time, and I played Eldar very competitively in 8th edition and in 9th edition. I never clocked out one time. I knew how to play that army, knew how to play it fast. I never clocked out, so having the psychic phase wasn't a problem. I ran Thousand Suns in 9th edition, never clocked out. So
yeah, I mean it's fine. Justin, my favorite editions, if you go two of them because they're so far apart, 4th and 9th. I
7th.
think 9th was probably no one's favorite is just 9th. Even if the people that created 7th hate 7th. I like 4th a lot because it gave a ton of individuality to your armies that you could bring. And 9th was probably the best, especially at the end, was the best compilation of rules together. Also, almost every army was viable tournament-wise.
Next question. Good. What's up? Go finish up. You got time.
No, I was gonna say it's not different with Cat. He goes, was it different from favorite casually? No, I think that it's the same because I play a lot of competitive either way.
I would actually. The only argument I'll make to you is I actually think 7th edition was a good casual edition. I think playing 7th edition with your friends. If you set a
bunch of parameters on it,
that's what I'm saying. Playing with your friends, 7th edition wasn't bad because you could not have Death Stars. But
I'm just saying if you're going to a tournament, 7th edition.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. Casual 7th was kind of cool because you would have Tau and Eldar versus this is back when doing demons and chaos. There were some really fun thematic style things you could do.
Their ally stuff was pretty cool because you could recreate scenarios and battles and stuff like that. Yes, I agree.
It allowed for narrative play, but not competitive. Good God, no. All right, next one. What parts, units of the lore not currently in the tabletop would like you to see added? Karandras.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I think do they just goof and not print out a model? It just doesn't even make sense.
I don't know.
Karandras is part of the current lore too.
Yeah. So is
no sense in that. Sniper effect.
Sniper dude, Eldar sniper dude, who's like in that closet.
He also just didn't get up.
Yeah. There's a bunch of these dudes
with the Rangers. Like a bunch of special characters randomly got out that are current movers and shakers in the lore, and they just didn't bring models. I don't know what's going on.
I'll make it simple. Just go to the legends page of every army and the named characters. That's who we went back in the game.
Bring those back for sure.
Bring everyone back.
There's so many that are active. It would be different if some people have died in Imperial Guard because they just aged out in the current timeline and stuff like that.
Prince Uriel is alive. He's alive. I mean, right in.
So is K-Rod.
Yeah, my closet there has my war boss on bike. Why don't I have him? He was awesome. I've also got Zodstrog. Loved Zodstrog. Played him until they got rid of him. Badruck.
Zod's still there. You're talking about.
Not Zod. Is Zodrug Zadstruck maybe?
Sneaky.
Yeah. No. The guy.
You're talking Mad Doc.
No. Mad Doc. Also, I forgot. Also Mad Doc.
Also out.
The Storm Boy. The Storm Boy.
I
love him.
Goff's, he's awesome.
Yeah, he was great. There's a ton of them. I mean, there's Ultramarine characters. It's a lot of characters. There's a ton of units. Also, I mean, I'm an Orc player, so I got real lucky in my collection. By the way, I didn't get wrecked by Legends the way a lot of Orc players did when they took out
Mobs on bikes and war bosses on bikes and everything else.
Brad, honestly, those weren't that expensive. The bigger ones was the hit to the Grot tanks.
Grot tanks were so expensive.
Squigoths in general, because Gargantuan Squigoth survived, but every other Squigoth is gone. Like, there are people who were out thousands of dollars. Yeah. So anyway, that's a real one. Have you heard of the Dark Angels Luther book? Please tell me there's not a book about Luther. Really?
Doing forecasts on Luther.
Oh God, I'll just watch the movie Twins. He will always be Danny DeVito in Twins to me. Are there any armies either of you haven't played but would like to? Jeez,
no, for me it's no, because I've been spoiled because the community has been really great to me and just letting me play kind of whatever I want to. So.
Yeah, for me it's Gene Stealer Cult. It's the only army that I've wanted to play and I've never played. That's the one.
Yeah, you haven't played GSA?
I only play stuff I own. I don't borrow armies. So I only play stuff I own.
Oh, whoa! I feel like that's an attack on
It's
you
not. It's
personally.
it's just stylistic. I only play stuff I own. It's just because I also play in my house a lot. So it's like it'd be weird to borrow. It'd be weird to drive to someone's house, grab an army, drive back to my house, and play at my house. So it's kind of a weird setup. But yeah, GSC I think are really cool. I love their rules. I love their play style. I just haven't gotten around to building them out. Also, by the way, the name Aaron, one of my favorite sketches of all time.
Oh yeah,
Just absolute classic. Is there any
where are you, Aaron?
Yeah, where are you, Aaron? I swear to God, if you're not here. Is there an auto take for detachment wise on Thousand Suns? And what are some auto take units? Richard's the guy from Alaska who came to our event.
Yes.
So, auto take for Thousand Suns.
Magnus is still an auto take.
It really is amazing how he still is an auto take.
He's bananas good, but it's also Magnus. He also has a super cool model. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's over there. I like my Magnus model a lot. I like my Magnus model, and he hits hard. Magnus is your auto take. I don't think I will say it's nice thing. I don't think Rubrikai Flamers are auto take anymore because of some of the new rules
they used
they have.
to be the auto.
They had to take them, yeah.
I think that one unit of Spawn are fantastic. T-Sun's Spawn are super durable.
I also think Aramon's just outside auto take.
I mean, right now, Zangor Enlightened with Great Bows, those guys are bananas for their points. Until they do something about their points. Those guys fly.
Yeah, but their points
are
get
cheap.
Jacked. Their points will get jacked.
Yeah, as soon as their points get jacked, they're not an auto. But like right now, they're nuts.
Yeah.
Bolaki,
yeah. It's a really good. That show was really good. All right, are there any Salamanders episodes planned soon, or other specific chapters that they've been my favorites so far? Yes, we're holding off on Salamanders because I expect the Salamanders Codex is coming this summer, and I don't want to write an episode then have to redo it like right after we release it.
Anybody that has stuff coming out this edition, basically in the year, we will probably wait to get their stuff. Yeah. Votan waiting, Salamanders waiting, because all of those are going to get books.
Exactly. I mean, right now the chapters that I owe you all, for lack of a better phrase, World Eaters, I owe you. Iron Hands, Iron Warriors, ones who I know not do anything else. White Scars will be a 20-minute bonus episode. I'm kidding. We do all those, but anytime that we don't, unfortunately, as popular as this cast is, we don't have access, like direct access in the GW, so I can't tell you what's coming. So I'm as aware as the rest of you of what's coming out. So we're trying to make sure that we don't accidentally release an episode to have it just be like thrown to the garbage 3 weeks later.
In things that we might also do, not even might do, we will do some specific battles, the most famous battles.
Yeah.
We'll go over some. We'll end up doing most of them.
We're setting
a lot of them.
I'm hoping as a figure kind of how we've been doing this. We've been kind of trying to add information so that we can do more later. The reason we did the War of the Beast was because we'd done enough precursor that we could do the War of the Beast and explain a lot of stuff through it and not have to do 20-minute pauses partway through to go back. Oh. Sorry, DJ, about the White Scars jokes. It really is like I said, I have no hate for the White Scars. I have hate for the way GW decided just to forget about them at one point. Like the White Scars, it's that is it Joe Dirt who got forgotten on the family vacation? That's what the White Scars
left it.
I know they didn't screw you. But that's what the White Scars feel like. GW just like, oh. Yeah, like it's like every week they have a meeting. It's like, hey, no one said anything about the White Scars. Everyone says, oh, we should, and then every week,
never ever
White Scars. Yeah. Updated Orc episode after War of the Beast. You have no idea how much I want to do an Orc episode. I would do Orc episodes every week. I just have to not do that because I'm at the 40K Orc cast. Not yet. So.
That'll be our site. That'll be another channel.
Exactly.
All orcs all the time.
All right, this is a fun one. How do you set aside time out of your week to make the cast while John has a job? Matthew straight up called you out there, Brad.
What's funny is it's actually harder to get me pinned down than it is for you.
Yeah, so Brad, I mean, look, I'll just call it out, guys. Like Brad, Brad unfortunately has had some bad genetics, is what it is, and so he's got some brain issues. You've had one real stroke, and how many baby strokes?
Multiples.
Yeah,
TIA is in my game, baby.
a couple heart things. So we both, I mean, candidly, guys, this is a struggle. Like we both finding the time to do this is thing. I just do, for lack of a better phrase, between my job, my family, my jiu-jitsu, everything else, and working out. Yeah, you just kind of, I don't play a lot of video games. I used to play a lot more video games. I used to do a lot more of that kind of stuff, and I don't anymore. But candidly, I get more reward out of this than I do beating XCOM 2 for the 75th time. So
plus you always play on cheat mode, which is hilarious.
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, look, they're like all right, I'm open about this. I would never cheat in a multiplayer game, but like if you write an RPG and I just gotta get through it and I want to know all the storylines, I don't feel like playing it 11 times to find out all the storylines. Yeah, I'll just max all my stats. What's the next problem? And
move along. Nothing to see here.
Are there any podcasts you need to retcon because of GW lore changes from Ludo? Not yet, but I expect we will. Candidly,
yeah, we'll have to do. We will just do updated versions of them.
Yeah, well, I'll call it out. If GW, so for example, actually, no, we do. Let me actually rephrase that. Yes, our first section of podcasts on the Horus Heresy were recorded before the last books of End of Death came out.
Oh, it's true.
We're wrong, or at least there's new information there. But so
we're wrong. Well, I mean, now we're wrong.
We're wrong now. We weren't wrong then, but that's okay. Yeah. That's how being wrong works. So those ones we will eventually have to come back through. Again, those ones are tricky because they are tomes. I mean, those books are this thick. I don't know if you want to see something funny, go to Audible and go and click on End of Death. I think it's volume 4. I believe it's 18 hours of audio book. Like these things are long, so I want to give the base enough time to consume them. But in the sense of like, I want everyone who wants to read it, and then if you haven't read it because you don't want to, then cool, John's here to give you cliff notes. But I don't want to ruin someone's surprise. Next one. When you eventually get to the chapters where there isn't too much known about them to warrant a full episode, like the Lamenters. Yes. So we are, thanks to our Discord, I got a lot of people have been asking this. What we're going to do is we're going to do a series where it will be a lot of the smaller chapters. Lamenters are a great one. Carcadons, Minotaurs, all these guys. I can't do a full hour on the Minotaurs without it getting pretty boring and kind of repetitive because we're just stretching out at a certain point. But I can't do 5 minutes
reading from the codexes.
Exactly. So
let me read you something from here.
Yeah, so it's one of these things where I think what we're going to do is a series talking about all the individual, like, hey, here's a bunch of random ones. Because what these guys are is there's a lot of chapters who are used to move the lore along, kind of as a like, hey, there's all these chapters that are almost chaos but not chaos. Like the Soul Drinkers. Are the Soul Drinkers chaos? But I'd love to talk about it. You know, can I do it for an hour? No. But it can be part of a cast. So we'll do some of those. What's the other one? How do you tailor your workouts to jiu-jitsu? All right. So Brad and I are, I think, odd people. Brad, how many days a week do you work out?
It depends on how dying I am.
All right. If you're not in the middle of having fucking AFib, how many days a week do you work out?
I just go to the gym every day.
Yeah, that's what I am too. So for real, yeah, I work out 7 days a week. And then on top of that, I do jiu-jitsu 3 times. Now I'm only do 3 times a week. When I was in my 30s, I would work out 6 days a week in the morning and do jiu-jitsu 5 nights a week in the night.
But I can say that even on this stuff, I just like doing everything. I like just doing something all the time. So.
Yeah. What do you
do? I should be doing less picking up large objects and more walking, but
it's going
we won't
great
talk
for you.
about that.
This is my favorite question asked you. So of all the questions asked, is my favorite. What do you do with witches? You burn them. You burn them. And how do you know if it's a witch? If it floats, And what else floats? Also, I should have mentioned for all of you who... So when I sent the questionnaire out, when I wrote it, I laughed because the question was, what is your name? What is your question? And my brain just went to, what is your quest? What is your favorite color? So for all of you who filled in the correct answer for the land speed, for the speed of a swallow, good job. Good job.
What kind of swallow?
That's what it was. That's what everyone came back with, African or European. And then if you actually got the more specific ones, it was fantastic. Salamanders episode answered as soon as the Codex comes out, because we know the Codex is coming. So probably end of summer is my guess. What's the origin story of fish hooks and buttholes, Brad?
I had to try to. So, the origin of fish hooks and buttholes is the Dark Eldar do some pretty crazy psycho stuff, and I had to figure out what's the thing I could say that I was allowed to say that could portray the nightmarish horrors that they do.
Yeah,
fish hooks and buttholes.
This one I need to answer. So we did not know anything outside of America. Like, I thought peanut butter was only an American thing. I got the way I said that was wrong. Peanut butter is not only an American thing. It's in Asian cuisine. It's in European cuisine. It's everywhere. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are an American thing. That was the one I said it wrong.
How did we get to here?
Oh, come on. Every question asked, I answer, and I'll own it. But the real answer about this is because we're both American. Like, I'm Italian. I have an Italian name. I've been in Italy a lot. I'm actually in Europe all the time. But I consume American media. I consume American things. We're both... I mean, Brad lives in freaking Toledo, which is like...
I'm the most middle of America podunk nowhere that you can be.
Yeah, Brad's from the part of America where people are walking across America to go to somewhere nice and went, my feet are tired, and stopped.
Let's just stay here.
Uh-huh.
Is it freezing cold in the winter and unbelievably hot in the summer? Yes. Cool. Perfect. Let's do this.
That's right. This is where I want to be. Oh, also, every now and then, the weather tries to murder me by making a spinning thing of wind. By the way, did hit Brad's house when you were recording that day?
Yep. I continued to do a cast while a tornado was visible.
Yeah. I actually remember this. We were all like, are you okay?
I make bad decisions and I stand by them.
Yeah. Ooh, peanut butter in Dutch is pinda cheese. Wow. Good to know. Wow.
Move along, you weirdo. Yeah. Give me another question.
I mean, peanuts are also from America. Side note. That is one of my favorite things is I'm Italian. Italian cuisine, we think of like pizza, tomato sauce, all that stuff. Tomatoes are from the US. Tomatoes and corn, tobacco, obviously. I believe peanuts, if I'm not mistaken, and then chocolate. All are from the Americas. They did not exist in cuisine until the New World was founded. No comment on what we did when we founded it. Arazvidalo Masalan in Slovenian.
Slovenian.
There we go. I can't pronounce that correctly, but I know Pajama Pants could.
I was just about to say we need Alan.
We need Alan. All right, next one. John. All right, this one again. I saved the John was wrongs till the end. John always says that north, east, south, west don't exist in space. And he describes everything as up, down, left, right. Up, down, left, right, A, B, select, start. But anyway, how do you orient yourself in space? For there to be an up, there needs to be a standard orientation. So we're sitting next to each other in spaceships, and I flip mine upside down. Am I even upside down? Wonderful question. Does upside down even exist in space? Also a great question. And if we don't orient ourselves off the northeast, southwest of a planet, does that mean we can't use space, or is it regular orientation? And then even if we say it's left of Terra, we just standard orientation, because if I'm on the opposite side, it's now right to me. My name is Jeff. So a couple things. Jeff, you're totally right. They use north, south, east, west because it's just easier. My viewpoint is space, your orientation in space is incredibly complicated. So this is one where I happen to, because of where I used to live, when I used to live in California, I had friends who worked at the NASA Ames Center. we had a discussion over beer one night about this, about how the hell do you define orientation in space? And every one of them they all gave me an answer that involved math I don't understand. So I went with, And the truth of the matter is that your space, like, the way that we look at the galaxy is complicated. The good news is that most of the planets, most of the systems of the galaxy actually are on somewhat of a plane. It is 3D, but doesn't shift massively because of the way that physics work from the original expansion of the Big Bang. But yeah, this is more me just messing with stuff. So candidly, like, I should use a north, south, east, west, but I just felt silly doing it, so I did it my way.
My way.
Yep. All right, next question. How much time do you think will pass in the universe before they redo the franchises? I.e., 45, 45, 69, or 420? First off, good joke. Good joke. From Poet Chase. Candidly, I think... Actually, I don't know. I don't think the destruction of fantasy... that led into the creation of Sigmar was well received. I think I personally feel that a lot of the player base is still upset about that, so I don't think they'll do that again. That's my guess.
And 40K is significantly larger than Fantasy was, too.
Yeah. So I don't think that they'll wrap it, but I do think I don't think we'll get to beyond like 42K. And then actually the tornado has become, all right. So Savage Doc knows a story. I almost got killed by a tornado in Ohio. So, and that leads us to our last question. Why is Ohio so awesome? What does John fail to acknowledge its awesomeness? So
exactly.
I explained to a bunch of people when we were together that I feel that Ohio is one of the places that if a foreign country blew up, we would give them a stern talking to, and would not invade over it.
Your tone is hurtful, Mr. John.
Thanks to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, guys. Wow.
Don't bring up the end times. I mean, it is the first time that Chaos won. Well done, Archeon.
Yeah, exactly. That thing was brutal. So I don't think GW's ever going to do that again. But yeah, my crap talk on Ohio is more just because I live next to it and it's enjoyable. I don't know.
It's like talking shit to me about where I live.
Yeah.
The funniest thing is I live so close to Michigan.
You do, but you live between two power plants.
One nuclear plant.
That's a power plant.
Yeah, but you got to specify, because if that blows up, it will definitely kill me.
Yeah. I'm very upwind.
I am not.
Yeah. But with that, we're over 2 hours, guys, so I think that's probably good. Wait, hold on. People are agreeing with me, so now I'm back in. How did Thousand Suns replenish their troops? We're going to do a cast on that, H2O, if I'm being honest. We're going to do a cast on how Chaos replenished their troops, because we gave you an insight into it in the last of the War of the Beast, and by the last, I mean the last one we recorded that's not coming out for 3 weeks.
I was saying it's for like a month.
Yeah, but whatever. It's in there, but we will cover that a bit more. And then someone from Kentucky is pointing out that, yeah, Ohio sucks. Just saying.
You know what? Hurtful talk.
It's fine.
Also, I was going to click a poll on here, but I forgot that I'm not actually running the YouTube right this second, so I can't. Damn it!
I don't know how to do that. So anyway, but yeah, guys, we're at almost 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. God knows time wherever a lot of you are. So thank you all for watching. We hope, and for those of you who watch this after, which is the vast majority of you,